Before we start this story, I would like to introduce you to some of Rupert's friends. Rupert lives with his mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Bear, and his uncle Bruno, in a lovely village called Nutwood. Rupert's oldest friend is Bill Badger, who you can always rely on to keep his head in a crisis, and is always cheerful. Then there's Podgy Pig, who loves his food, but is very warm-hearted. Edward Trunk is a gentle giant, a strong and amiable ally in Rupert's adventures. Algy Pug is another old friend, who really enjoys a good laugh, and is always playing practical jokes. Pong Ping is extremely wealthy. He comes from China, and has a very unique pet, a small dragon. Willy Mouse is a timid soul, but tries his very best to keep up with his friends. The Chinese conjurer is well versed in Oriental magic, and lives in a wonderful pagoda with his pretty daughter, Tiger Lily. Also living in Nutwood is Constable Growler, Dr. Lion, and Mr. Chimp, the schoolmaster. Rupert and the Nutwood Stage. Have you seen the Nutwood Weekly this morning? Rupert asks his pal Bill Badger. Bill shakes his head. It says there won't be any more buses going into Nutchester, says Rupert, showing him the paper. Bill looks puzzled. Why is that? He asks. The bus company says that not enough people use them now, explains Rupert. But we do, cries Bill. How will we get to Nutchester without a bus service? I suppose we could cycle there, frowns Rupert. My bike's got a broken chain, says Bill. And I can't ride a bike, moans Edward Trunk. The pals stare at each other gloomily. Suddenly, Rupert has an idea. I wonder if Farmer Green would lend us his horse and cart, he exclaims. Come on, let's ask him. The chums dash over to Farmer Green's whitewashed cottage and find him busy in the stables. Well, I don't know, he says doubtfully. Dobbin isn't as young as he was, and my old hay cart has seen better days too. We'll clean and paint it for you, promises Rupert. And that's exactly what the chums do. Rupert and Edward set about cleaning and scraping the woodwork, while Bill borrows some varnish and a brush and gives everything a shiny new coat. Algy and Bingo lend a hand too, making up seats for the passengers. I'm sure this will be more fun than going by bus, Rupert grins. I expect lots of people will want to come with us, says Rupert thoughtfully. We must let everyone know the time we shall be leaving, and also when we will be coming back. I'll paint some posters and put them up, volunteers Bill. And I'll work out a timetable, promises Bingo. Bill's posters cause quite a stir. Very soon all the seats are booked, and a reporter from the Nutwood Weekly takes a photograph of Dobbin and the chums to put in the paper. We'll be famous, laughs Bill. But Dobbin doesn't seem very pleased. I don't think he likes the idea of pulling a stagecoach, says Farmer Green. Farmer Green is right. As soon as the chums set off, Dobbin keeps wanting to stop, and when he does move, the fastest he goes is a gentle plod. Then he has a long rest to nibble his nose bag and drink a pail of water. This is going to take hours, groans Rupert. But when they arrive at a fork in the road, Dobbin suddenly looks more interested. "We turn left here," says Rupert, giving the reins a twitch. But Dobbin has other ideas. He breaks into a gallop and races off in the other direction. The cart bumps and sways madly, and the pals hang on for their lives. Of course, Dobbin knows exactly where he is going. The road leads straight back to Farmer Green's cottage and his comfortable stable. Rupert grabs at the handbrake, hoping to stop him, but it is too late. In no time at all, they are back in Farmer Green's yard. "That's torn it," says Bill glumly. Farmer Green chuckles when he sees them. "I thought this would happen," he says, unhitching Dobbin. "But never mind. I'll tow you into Nutchester with my tractor." And they are soon off again, bowling along merrily behind Farmer Green's big yellow tractor. "At least we are sure to get there now," grins Rupert. After their day in Nutchester, there is a surprise for the chums back home. The reporter from the Nutwood Weekly has some exciting news. "After reading about your stagecoach, the bus company changed its mind," he tells them. "They've decided to run the buses again." The pals give a big cheer. "The Nutwood Stage turned out to be a good idea after all," laughs Rupert. And everyone agrees. Rupert and the Trouble with Big Ben. Rupert is spending a day in London with his pal Bill Badger. They visit the Tower of London and then see Westminster Abbey and the Houses of Parliament. As they are passing Big Ben, a voice whispers in Rupert's ear. "Psst! Can you lend me 2p, Rupert?" Rupert looks round in amazement. The whisper seemed to have come from the big clock. "Who said that?" he gasps. "It's me, Big Ben," says the clock in a low voice. "I need 2p very urgently. Can you help me?" Rupert and Bill fumble in their pockets. "It's all right," shouts Bill. "I've found one." He holds up the coin for Big Ben to see. "Thank goodness for that," says the clock, sounding very relieved. "Now, come round the side and I'll open the door for you." A moment or two later, Rupert and Bill find themselves standing inside Big Ben's giant tower. "Up here," calls a voice from above, and the two pals start climbing the 340 steps to the top. They are quite out of breath when they arrive in the huge workroom behind the dials. "Thank you very much for coming," whirs the clock gratefully. "Could you put the coin on my pendulum, please?" Bill finds the pendulum and whistles with surprise. It is weighted down with 2p coins and big old pennies. "I need the coins to keep the right time," explains Big Ben. "An extra coin weighs down my pendulum a tiny bit, so I tick faster. Taking one away does the opposite. They help me to keep the right time all the year round, in summer and winter, whatever the weather." He gives a sigh. You can imagine how I felt when I woke up after a little doze and found one was missing. Suddenly a small figure pushing a trolley shuffles out from behind one of the clock's giant cogs. He is wearing tiny overalls, and the trolley is loaded with all kinds of cleaning things, plus, on the bottom shelf, a bright, shiny 2p coin. He trundles the trolley across to the pendulum, and with a great effort heaves the shiny 2p onto the pile. Then he sits down, mopping his brow. "Who are you?" gasps Rupert. The little figure jumps to his feet. "You shouldn't be in here," he says sharply. "Nobody's allowed in here while we're spring cleaning." "Spring cleaning?" gulps Rupert. "I suppose you think these coins come clean by themselves," sneers the little man. "Well, they don't, I can tell you. It's jolly hard work making them shiny." "I know you," says Bill suddenly. "You're one of the imps of spring. I remember you at Nutwood, painting daffodils on the common." "Correction," snaps the little man. "I was one of the imps of spring. I'm now one of the imps of spring cleaning." He glares at the pals. "And I can't work with you here, so go away." "You're the one who should go away," says Rupert firmly. "Big Ben doesn't need his coins cleaned, and every time you move one, the time goes wrong." "That does it," cries the imp furiously. "I'm not staying here to be insulted. I didn't want this job in the first place, and I won't put up with it a second longer." He peels off his rubber gloves and slams them on the trolley. "And don't think they'll send someone in my place, because they won't. I'll see to that." "Well, I never!" exclaims Rupert as the imp storms off, bottles and jars rattling. Big Ben chuckles. "Fancy someone being sent to spring clean my coins. I've never known that to happen before." "I don't think it's likely to happen again either," grins Bill. He counts the coins on Big Ben's pendulum. "There's one over now," he says, "so I'll take my 2p off again." Rupert frowns. "I hope all this won't muck up your timing too much," he tells Big Ben. But he needn't worry. As the two pals are leaving, Big Ben starts to chime, at exactly the right moment as usual. It reminds Rupert of the train they must catch back to Nutwood. "Big Ben's on time, but we're not," he gasps. "If we don't run, we'll never be home in time for tea."
Rupert and the River Pirates. For weeks, Rupert and Bingo, with Algy Pug and Bill Badger, have been planning a river camping holiday. They will explore the river by boat during the day and camp beside it each night. But they're just about to leave when Bill and Algy find a fault in their boat which must be put right.
"We'll go ahead," Rupert says. "We shall camp tonight and wait for you to catch up tomorrow."
So off row Rupert and Bingo, taking it easy, for they don't want to get too far ahead. They have been going for only a little when Rupert spots something.
"That flashing on the hill," he says. "The sun is glinting on a telescope. Someone's watching us."
Nearer they see that the watcher is a man. Then they see him close his telescope and signal to someone with a scarf or neckerchief.
"That's odd," Bingo muses. "Someone examines us through a telescope, then starts signalling. Do you think it was about us?"
But Rupert doesn't answer. He has noticed something just as strange and more frightening. The water, smooth until now, is swirling round the boat in an alarming way. He digs the paddle in hard and tries to steer.
"It's no use, Bingo," he gasps. "I can't control the boat. We're being pulled into the bank."
Bingo gives a gasp of horror as the dense bushes and trees on the bank loom closer and closer. Rupert keeps trying to turn the boat. It is hopeless. Then, when it seems they are going to crash, the bushes part and they see they are being drawn into a low tunnel. Rupert drops the paddle, springs onto his seat and grabs an overhanging branch. For a moment the boat slows, then crack! The branch snaps and Rupert goes sprawling in the boat. The rushing water booms inside the tunnel as Rupert and Bingo are swept along. Ahead they see a glimmer of light, which grows fast as they race towards it. Then suddenly they are in daylight, in a narrow channel with steep stone sides. But their feeling of relief lasts only a moment, for they are still travelling at great speed, and just ahead of them is a very solid-looking sluice gate. Horrified, they watch it loom larger and larger. Then, as it seems the boat must smash into the gate, it stops with a jolt, pitching the pals head over heels. The nose of the boat is pressed against a stout net which has sprung out of the water.
"What on earth?"
Bingo gasps as he picks himself up. Rupert says nothing. He is staring at a figure on the bank. It is a very old pirate, brandishing a rusty cutlass. On the other side, a second old pirate is securing the rope which pulled up the net.
"Pull 'em in, Josh!" cries the old pirate as he totters across the top of the sluice gate.
"Aye, aye, Ben,"
quavers the other, and drags the pal's craft to the bank with a boat hook.
"Out you get!"
he cries. Rupert and Bingo scramble from the boat. They are speechless. Everything has happened so fast.
"Into the mill!"
pipes Ben, and points with his sword at the building behind him. It is a deserted-looking place, with a tunnel in the middle, through which water races. The inside echoes with the sound of the water.
"Oh, please," Rupert begs. "What do you want with us?"
Ben, who seems to be in charge, points a shaky finger and croaks,
"What we want is ransom. You're our prisoners, and here you'll stay till your families pay ransom for ye."
Just then the door opens, and in comes yet another very old pirate. He is knotting a kerchief about his neck.
"I'm sure he's the one we saw signalling,"
Bingo whispers.
"Young Tom, take the prisoners to the loft and lock 'em in,"
Ben orders the newcomer. Young Tom, who looks just as old as the others, ushers Rupert and Bingo up to a loft stretching the length of the mill. Even here the rumbling of the water is loud.
"Do this, do that," grumbles Tom, "like I was still a cabin boy. That Ben forgets 'twas my idea to use the old mill to trap boats. 'Tain't fair."
"No, it isn't," chorus Bingo and Rupert, who want to keep Tom talking. Delighted to have someone to listen to him for a change, Tom tells the pals how he and the others decided to become river pirates when they got too old for pirating on the Spanish Main. He remembered the old mill and how its wheel was driven by water drawn from the river through a culvert when the sluice was opened wide. There was a grill or grating on it to stop boats being drawn in.
So I told 'em, remove the grating and we can pull in boats and ransom prisoners,
Tom gloats.
Young Tom, stop wasting time up there,
Ben calls from below. Tom pulls a face, but he still scurries off, locking the door.
Rupert, now that we know what they're up to, we must escape and tell the police,
Bingo says.
Let's see if there's anything up here we can use.
So the pals start poking about among old bits of mill equipment. Suddenly Rupert calls, "Look!" Bingo looks up from the things he has found to see his pal holding open an old trap door. Next moment, the two are peering at the mill stream racing through the tunnel.
It's where the mill wheel was,
Bingo breathes.
You can see the axle stumps.
But wait, the water's slowing. They must be shutting the sluice.
Rupert scrambles across to a window and looks out. Sure enough, Josh and young Tom are winding shut the underwater doors that let the stream through the gate, and Tom is still complaining about being ordered around. When the pals lower the trap door, they notice something. How quiet it is now that the water is not running.
We'll be able to tell any time they open the sluice,
Bingo says. Before Rupert can ask why that's important, Bingo goes on,
I have an idea for escaping. Some of this old stuff in here will be useful. You keep watch while I sort it out.
A little later, Bingo has to drag a tarpaulin over his bits and pieces when Rupert hisses, They're coming up here. The door opens, and in file the pirates. Ben is carrying paper and a quill pen. The pals, he announces, must write to their parents to say they won't be set free until ransom is paid. He tries to look fierce and says,
If ye don't, ye shall have no supper.
Aye, and we has good ones,
pipes Josh.
Chips and jam sandwiches.
Since they are planning to escape anyway, the pals sign. What's more, they're very hungry, even for jam sandwiches with chips. They're awful pirates, Rupert thinks. They haven't said how much ransom they want, nor even got our addresses. But the old pirates seem happy enough.
The first of many ransom notes, Ben crows. We'll be pulling boats in all the time now.
That's what I wanted to know,
says Bingo when the pirates have gone.
They'll have to open the sluice. That's what we need.
And he whips the cover off the pile of old mill equipment he has found. His main find is a pallet that was used for lowering sacks of flour in the old days. With it are several oil cans, rope, twine, and a pulley. Rupert sees at once what Bingo plans. A raft.
Right, Bingo says. We'll start it after supper when the pirates have gone to bed.
As it is, they just have time to hide the things before supper arrives.
We bought you a lamp, Josh says, in case you don't like the dark.
Plainly, he is trying hard not to sound kindly. Grateful for the light Josh brought, our two start work when supper has been cleared away. Using Bingo's pocket knife, they cut lengths of twine to tie oil cans to the pallet.
This will help to keep the raft afloat,
Bingo whispers. Long past their usual bedtime, the pals work on their raft. At last it is done.
That should do, Bingo says. I think it's strong enough.
How do we get it into the water?
Rupert asks.
I've worked that out, says Bingo. We lower it, as it used to be lowered with sacks of flour, except that we drop it through the trapdoor into the water when it's moving fast.
So while Rupert ties lines to the rings on the pallet, Bingo gets the pulley rigged. At last all is ready. They pull the tarpaulin over their craft and climb onto their mattresses.
We must be ready to go the first time they open the sluice gate and the water starts running again,
Bingo says.
Good night, Rupert.
Rise and shine!
Rupert and Bingo stir at the call to find a sunny morning and that the three old pirates have brought their breakfast. Tea and bread spread with condensed milk. The pirates don't even glance at where the raft is hidden. Instead, they watch the pals' breakfast, as if anxious they should enjoy it. Suddenly, Ben turns on Tom.
Time's wasting. Off to your lookout, post and watch for boats.
The pals exchange a get-ready look. The pals listen to the pirates clattering downstairs. Then they go to the window. In a moment, they see the pirates emerge from the mill. Ben and Josh settle themselves on a bench. Tom sets off for the hilltop, muttering to himself. For a long time, nothing happens as Tom sweeps the river with his telescope. Suddenly, Rupert calls urgently to Bingo, who is checking the raft.
He's waving his scarf. He must have spotted a boat.
As soon as Ben and Josh spot Tom's signal, they totter to the sluice gate and start to wind it open. The pals spring into action. A rope fixed to the raft is fed through the pulley. Bingo climbs onto a box to hang the pulley from a hook over the trap door. Rupert leads the lowering rope through a ring on the floor. Everything is as ready as it can be. Above the clanking of the sluice being opened, the pals hear water beginning to race through the tunnel. They open the trap door. Now, neither feels quite so brave. They gasp at the sight of the mill stream racing and roaring beneath them. Can their makeshift craft really stand up to that sort of thing? Well, there's one way to find out.
Come on,
says Bingo.
no point in waiting. Let's get it into the water.
They let go the lowering line from its ring and take the weight of their craft. They ease it towards the opening.
Right, lower away,
Rupert says. Feeding out the line a little at a time, Rupert and Bingo at last have the raft on the water.
My plan, so I'll go first,
Bingo says. Rupert secures the lowering line and Bingo climbs down it to the raft. He makes it. Now it is Rupert's turn. The rope he must climb down is jerking and bucking as the mill stream tries to carry the raft away. Nothing for it. He takes a deep breath and launches himself at the wildly bucking rope. Rupert manages to grab the rope, but it is jerking so wildly that in order not to be smashed against the sides of the tunnel, he has to let go. Down he plunges towards the racing mill stream. Bingo grabs him as he drops and drags him onto the raft.
Hold tight,
he shouts and slashes at the rope with his knife. It parts. The raft leaps free and he sprawls beside Rupert, hanging on desperately as the raft goes bucketing along. The roaring mill stream is so loud that the pals can't hear if the pirates have noticed their escape. Anyway, they're too busy hanging on to the raft.
Where do you think this goes?
Rupert gasps.
No idea,
Bingo shouts.
Let's hope we don't hit the sides and get wrecked.
Rupert, who hasn't thought of this, gulps. Then they see ahead of them that the mill stream disappears into a screen of trees. Now what? Rupert wonders. Just then, Bingo cries,
Look out! Branches!
He throws himself flat. So does Rupert, just in time to escape being swept from the raft by a low-hanging branch. The trees are so dense and close that sunlight can't get through, and the pals are carried along in a greeny gloom. Not knowing what lies ahead is frightening. Then it begins to get lighter. The sunlight gets stronger, and from somewhere ahead, Rupert and Bingo hear a loud buzzing noise.
Not just a lake,
exclaims Bingo. And there ahead is the source of the buzzing sound, a motorboat. Ahoy! The pals shout, and from the motorboat's cabin a man appears. He stares, then turns his boat towards them. It's silly to play out here on a raft, he begins.
But we're not playing,
Rupert protests.
We're escaping from pirates.
Pirates? The man repeats.
Now that's enough of your nonsense. Oh, please, we are telling the truth,
Rupert pleads. The pals sound so earnest that at last the man takes them in tow, saying that he is taking them to the police station to tell their story. The policeman, who hears their tale, does not seem to believe it.
"You come from Nutwood, eh?" he frowns. "I know P.C. Growler there. I shall ring and ask him about you. Pirates, indeed! What will some of you youngsters think of next?"
And with that he dials the number of Nutwood Police Station. The pals wait anxiously.
Is that a fact?"
The policeman listens to P.C. Growler in Nutwood. He puts down the phone.
"Well," he says, "it seems that neither of you tells lies, so I've got to believe this extraordinary tale about pirates on the river. Oh dear, what are the river police going to say about this? Well, come on, let's go and find out."
With that, he leads the pals out to his police car and sets off for the Nutchester River Police Station. The river police act at once when they hear what has happened to Rupert and Bingo. Will Rupert and Bingo come with them and show just where they were trapped in their boat? Of course! Who's going to turn down the chance of a trip in a river police boat? So off they go. As they get near the tunnel leading to the mill, Rupert and Bingo spot young Tom at his lookout post. Already he's signalling. "Look out!" Rupert calls. Too late. The water is swirling. Before the policemen know what's happening, their boat is being dragged into the tunnel. "Watch your heads!" Rupert cries. Again too late. Helmets go flying. The police boat is swept through the tunnel by the current. This time Rupert and Bingo know what to expect, and they are ready for the shock when the net brings the craft to a jolting halt. Being large and heavy, the two policemen avoid being sent sprawling. There is a long silence. Ben breaks the silence.
"Oh dear," he squeaks. "We've really caught the wrong lot here."
Just then Tom hurries down to see what he's trapped. For an awe-stricken moment he regards the scene.
"I really must get glasses,"
he says at last. It is while the pirates are being rounded up that Rupert happens to look up at the loft windows.
"Bingo!" he cries. "Look who's there!"
Grinning down at them from the loft they left such a short time ago are Bill and Algy.
"Bill! Algy!"
Rupert and Bingo run to greet the two captives who have just been let out of the loft.
"They caught us just as you and Bingo were escaping," laughs Algy. "They seemed quite upset that you'd gone after they'd given you supper and the like."
"I know," Rupert says. "They're awful pirates because they're kind." Just then one of the policemen calls,
"Back to Nutchester!"
And off they go, the police boat with the pirates in it towing the other two. At the river police station, Rupert goes up to one of the policemen.
"They're not really bad," he begins.
"I know," says the policeman. "We'll find a place for them in the Rocky Bay Home for Retired Pirates."
So Rupert and the others can set out again quite happily. As they leave, the old pirates wave after them.
"Good luck,"
they call.
"Have a good holiday, and do come and see us sometime."
The end.